The flickering lights. The first warning. From the upside down. From the very beginning of Stranger Things, the lights in Hawkins aren't just props or spooky decorations. They're signals, they're warnings. They're the upside down reaching in when nobody's ready to understand what's coming. And the best part is, most people think they already know what the flickering means. But there's a hidden layer behind these lights that tells a much deeper story about the connection between worlds. The first time we see the lights flicker, it feels like a classic horror cue. Something bad is nearby. But pay close attention to how these lights behave over the seasons. They don't just flicker randomly. They almost communicate. The showrunners actually treat the lights like a living heartbeat. Whenever the upside down gets stronger or more unstable, the lights behave differently. Faster, slower, dimmer, brighter. Almost like the worlds are breathing out of sync. It's their way of showing the audience that the barriers between the two realities are thinning long before any monster appears. And then there's the emotional side of it. The lights react most intensely when characters feel fear, confusion, or danger. Joyce figuring out Will is alive isn't just a cool moment with Christmas lights. It's the show quietly telling us, emotions travel between worlds. Fear lights up the bulbs. Hope lights up the bulbs. Even anger, when the Demogorgon is close, seems to make the electricity nervous. This turns the lights into more than a horror trick. They become a symbol of human connection breaking through the darkness. Even when everything feels lost, someone on the other side can still leave a spark. So the next time Hawkins' lights start buzzing, don't think of it as a ghostly effect. Think of it as the upside down sending a message, and the characters sending one right back. The Dungeons and Dragons dice. Fate written before anyone sees it coming. Long before the Demogorgon ever crawls out of the darkness, Stranger Things quietly whispers its future through something incredibly simple. A set of Dungeons and Dragons dice. On the surface, they're just plastic game pieces the boys toss around on a basement table. But the show uses them as a symbol of fate, chance, and the terrifying idea that some battles in life are decided long before we even know we're playing. Think about the very first episode. Will rolls the dice and loses to the Demogorgon in the game. And just a few hours later, he loses in real life too. The show isn't being cute or clever there. It's hinting that every major danger in Hawkins starts as a shadow in their imagination before it becomes real. The dice are like a prophecy. Whatever number they land on, the boys' story seems to follow. But the deeper layer is how these dice represent the illusion of control. Every time the kids gather to play D&D, they feel safe. They feel like they're making choices. They feel like heroes. But the dice remind us that even in a fantasy world, fate doesn't always listen to what you want. Sometimes you roll a 7 when you desperately need an 11. Sometimes you lose the battle even though you made all the right moves. And Stranger Things mirrors that idea again and again with its characters. They fight, they plan, they stick together. Yet the upside down keeps throwing unpredictable rolls their way. There's also something poetic about how the dice appear during moments of change. Whenever a new threat arrives, the boys return to the table, almost as if the game is the one place where they can rehearse danger before facing it. It becomes a kind of ritual, one that quietly shapes the path ahead. Every monster they name, every story they imagine, somehow becomes the next chapter of their real lives. So when those little dice clatter across the table, it's more than a game starting. It's Stranger Things telling us that destiny is already in motion. And the kids might be heroes, but even heroes have to answer to the role of fate. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you're enjoying this content so far, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch these videos without subscribing. Imagine what we could accomplish if everyone subscribed. We all thank you for your continued support. The Upside Down Spores. Silent whispers of a dying world. Every time the camera drifts through the Upside Down, something eerie fills the air. tiny white spores floating like dust, drifting slowly, silently, as if the whole world is breathing decay. Most people see them as just part of the creepy atmosphere, but in Stranger Things, these drifting particles are much more than decoration. They're a symbol of contamination, memory, and the slow collapse of a world that mirrors our own. The spores behave almost like ghosts. They move gently, almost rhythmically, as if they're carrying pieces of the Upside Down's past. They float around ruined streets, abandoned houses, half-eaten forests, showing us that this place was once alive. Before the vines spread, before the darkness took over, before everything froze in that cold blue glow. These spores are like the last remains of a world that's been drained of life, still drifting through the air, searching for someone to notice. But the hidden meaning becomes clearer the more we see how characters react to them. Whenever someone steps into the Upside Down, they instinctively hold their breath. It's automatic, like entering a toxic memory that shouldn't be inhaled. The spores represent corruption, the idea that darkness doesn't just attack physically, it infects slowly, quietly, invisibly. It's the same way the Mind Flayer operates. It doesn't just kill its victims, it spreads through them, fills them, uses them from the inside. The spores foreshadow that long before we even meet the creature. There's also a deeper emotional layer to them. Notice how the spores slow everything down. They make each movement heavier, each step more cautious, each moment feel like it's trapped in slow motion. It turns the Upside Down into a place of frozen grief. Time doesn't move forward there. It just hangs in the air like the particles themselves. The spores almost force the characters to face their fear slowly, without the distractions of normal life. It's just them, the darkness and the weight of what they might lose. So those drifting particles aren't just a spooky aesthetic. They're the Upside Down's voice, a silent reminder that this world is infected, ancient, and waiting to spread. And every time one of those spores brushes past a character's face, it's a warning. The darkness of the Upside Down doesn't stay contained. It's always looking for a way in. 11's nosebleeds. Power with a price. Every time 11 reaches for her powers, the moment feels thrilling. The lights shake, the air tightens, the music swells. And then, without fail, a single drop of blood slips from her nose. It's become one of the most iconic images in Stranger Things. But what makes it truly meaningful is the deeper symbolism behind it. That tiny streak of red is never just about physical strain. It represents sacrifice, humanity, and the cost of carrying a burden no child should ever have to hold. When 11 bleeds, it's the show's way of reminding us that power always comes with a price. She isn't like the monsters of the Upside Down. Her strength doesn't come from instinct or hunger. It comes from emotion, from fear, love, anger, and sometimes desperation. And the nosebleed appears whenever she pushes herself past the limits of what's safe. It's a sign that her body is paying for the things she's doing, even if she's doing them to protect the people she loves. But look closely. The nosebleeds aren't random. They evolve with her. In the early seasons, they're heavy and alarming. She's a child fighting forces way bigger than herself, and her body can barely keep up. As she grows, the blood becomes smaller, quicker, almost like her power is becoming part of her identity. It reflects her emotional journey. The more she's loved, supported, and understood, the more control she gains. But the danger never fully disappears. The blood is still there, reminding viewers that her gifts are tied to trauma she can't escape. There's also a symbolic contrast at play. Her nosebleeds are human, raw, fragile. Meanwhile, the creatures she battles are inhuman, relentless, and unfeeling. The blood draws a line between her and the monsters. It shows that while they operate on brute strength, she operates on heart. She's willing to hurt herself if it means saving her friends. And that's what makes those few drops of blood so powerful. They mark her as both a warrior and a vulnerable kid trying to survive a world she never asked to be part of. So every time 11 wipes her nose after using her powers, it's more than a dramatic moment. It's a reminder that true strength isn't about being unstoppable. It's about choosing to fight even when it hurts. The broken mirror. Reflections the characters aren't ready to face. There's a strange pattern in Stranger Things that most people miss at first glance. Whenever a major shift is about to happen, an emotional turning point, a secret revealed, a character confronting something they've been running from, there always seems to be a cracked or distorted mirror somewhere nearby. It shows up in bedrooms, hallways, locker rooms, and even in the quiet corners of Hawkins where no one expects it. And this isn't accidental. In Stranger Things, the broken mirror becomes a symbol of shattered realities, fractured identities, and the fear of seeing the truth too clearly. A mirror is supposed to show a perfect reflection, but a broken one distorts everything. It bends faces. It splits images. It turns something familiar into something strange and unsettling. And that mirrors exactly what happens to the characters emotionally. They're constantly caught between who they used to be and who they're becoming. Mike is growing out of childhood friendships. Will feels stuck in a world that moved on without him. Max carries silent guilt she won't say out loud. Hopper tries to look strong while falling apart inside. Every broken reflection hints at the truth they're trying not to confront. But the symbolism goes even deeper when you compare it to the literal two worlds in the show. Hawkins and the Upside Down are reflections of each other. One bright and alive, one decayed and frozen in darkness. The cracks in the mirrors represent the cracks between those worlds. They remind us that the boundary separating reality from the Upside Down isn't solid anymore. It's fragile, it's splintering, and every time a mirror breaks, it's like the show is whispering that danger is getting closer, that the two worlds are starting to blur into each other. There's also something haunting about how characters look at themselves in these fractured reflections. When Eleven tries to understand who she is, she often sees herself broken into pieces, just like her past. When Nancy faces truths she doesn't want to admit, mirrors distort her face, stretching her fear across the glass. These moments make the mirror more than an object. It becomes a visual echo of their inner confusion. A reminder that they're fighting literal monsters outside and emotional ones inside. So whenever you spot a shattered mirror in Stranger Things, pay attention. It's not just background detail. It's the show signaling that reality is cracking, the truth is closing in, and nobody is going to walk away from this journey without facing the parts of themselves they've been avoiding. The shadow monster's storm clouds. Fear that grows before it arrives. Before the shadow monster ever reveals its true form, Stranger Things gives us a warning. Not through roars, not through footprints, but through something far more familiar and unsettling. Storm clouds gathering above Hawkins. Dark, twisting, unnatural clouds that don't behave like real weather. They roll in too quickly, hang too heavily, and pulse with lightning that seems almost alive. And these clouds become a symbol of fear, spreading long before the creature itself steps into view. The first time we see those clouds, they feel like a classic sign of danger. Something big is coming. But if you look deeper, the storm is actually the creature's presence made visible. It isn't just hiding in the shadows. It's contaminating the sky, turning the town's sunlight into a dull, gray warning. It tells us that the Mind Flayer doesn't just invade minds. It invades the atmosphere, the mood, the very air everyone breathes. The clouds become a reflection of the fear building inside Hawkins, a fear that grows faster than anyone can prepare for. But what makes this symbol even richer is how emotional it is. Storms in storytelling often represent internal conflict, panic, confusion, dread. And that's exactly how the shadow monster works. It doesn't need to touch you to control you. It just needs your fear. The clouds moving in before the creature arrives show that Hawkins is already losing the battle internally. People feel uneasy. Animals sense something wrong. The world dims even when nothing visible has attacked yet. It's fear evolving into reality. Watch how the clouds behave around Will. When he's possessed, the sky mirrors his internal war. The storms grow louder, faster, and more aggressive as he loses control. It's like the mind flayer is spreading his pain outward, letting the world feel the storm happening inside him. The clouds become a visual echo of his struggle, a reminder that the greatest danger isn't always what we can see. It's what's building quietly in someone's mind. And then there's the idea that storm clouds bring change. Every major shift in Stranger Things follows a darkened sky. New threats, new alliances, new realizations. The clouds roll in like a curtain before a new chapter, announcing that the peace in Hawkins never lasts. So when the horizon turns black and lightning cuts through the sky, it's not just weather. It's the shadow monster whispering that fear is already here, shaping the world long before the monster steps into it. Max's Walkman. Music as a shield against the darkness. Max's bright red Walkman isn't just a nostalgic prop thrown in to remind us of the 80s. It becomes one of the most meaningful symbols in Stranger Things, especially in the 4th season. When she snaps those headphones over her ears and blasts her favorite song, it's not just a character quirk. It's survival. It's memory. It's the last bright thread tying her to the world she's terrified of losing. And underneath all that, the Walkman becomes a symbol of how music can protect the mind when nothing else can. When the Mind Flayer or Vecna attacks, their power doesn't come from claws or teeth. It comes from taking over your thoughts, your fears, your guilt, your regrets, and twisting them until you can't tell reality from nightmares. Max is drowning in all of that. She's carrying grief, trauma, and the feeling that she deserves the pain she's living with. Vecna preys on that. He digs into the darkest corners of her past. But then her friends play her favorite song, and everything changes. Suddenly, the darkness cracks open. A portal back to reality appears, and the Walkman becomes her lifeline. But the deeper meaning comes from why music saves her. A Walkman is personal. It sits on your hip. It covers your ears. It shuts out the world. Music becomes something that belongs only to you. Your memories, your emotions, your identity in its purest form. Vecna has power over fear, but he has no power over joy or nostalgia, or the warmth of a memory only you can feel. The Walkman symbolizes Max reclaiming her mind. When the song plays, she isn't trapped in trauma anymore. She's grounded in hope, and hope becomes stronger than fear. There's also something beautifully human about the whole moment. Out of all the weapons the characters use, axes, guns, fire, what ultimately saves Max is a song that reminds her of who she is. It's Stranger Things saying that sometimes the most powerful shield isn't something physical. It's something emotional, something invisible, something that brings you back to yourself when the world feels impossible to survive. And look at how Max treats her Walkman after that. She keeps it close. She holds it like a talisman, because it's not just music anymore. It's proof that she can fight back. It's proof that she isn't alone. It's proof that even when a monster is trying to tear her apart from the inside, the right memory can pull her back into the light. So Max's Walkman isn't just a retro gadget. It's a symbol of protection, identity, and the healing power of an emotion stronger than any monster. The feeling of being connected to a moment that reminds you you're still alive. Stranger Things isn't just monsters and scares. Every flickering light, cracked mirror, and Walkman carries hidden meaning, showing how hope, courage, and connection shine even in the darkest places. The real story is in the symbols we almost miss. If you enjoyed watching, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and drop us a note in the comments letting us know what you want to see us do next.